City of New Zealand has the honour tonight of opening the All Blacks 2003 campaign as the All Blacks prepare to meet England for the 25th time.
No
Spins on nobody.
Check it out.
And Caleb Ralph. Off it goes to Wilkinson with his right foot.
This is the man of the moment. He doesn't miss.
Game is over. England get the victory, 15-13.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening and welcome into the breakdown. Well, it is that time of year. It is test time. The international season is finally upon us. We've got a very special guest joining us from the English camp, their attack coach, Richard Wigglesworth. Thank you so much for joining us on the programme. Alongside these guys, Sir John Kerwin, Mills Muliaina and Jeff Wilson. Do you have any idea what you're getting yourself into tonight?
No, I've had some clips from the show to let me know. Nice and relaxed, I've been told. No funnies. Nice
and relaxed. How are you all feeling? It is test week and it's finally here, this new era, and we've got England back in New Zealand for the first time in a decade. It's been a while.
JK, usually what happens is I'm feeling really comfortable and confident, thinking we're in the right place, but the closer I get to game time, the actual game, all of a sudden the margins have got closer. I know exactly what the challenges we've got in front of us. Look, this is a semi-finalist of the Rugby World Cup just a few months ago. So, I mean, this is awesome. We've got new coaches, we've got new players. Who's going to play, Mills? JK, bring on Dunedin, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was at that game that you saw just in the highlights. That was the day I reckon that England won the World Cup. Sorry, Mills.
You were there too, eh?
Is that some sort of record, losing your first test match? Or?
We lost our first test match to a 13-man English side in the end because they had 2 yellow cards. But I'll tell you, having you here, mate, the levels have gone up here. You know, just seeing the old, the English sort of, the Rose and test week coming up, I'm pretty pumped.
Tell us, what kind of squad have you brought to New Zealand? Because a lot of people say, you know, end of the season for you. What squad have you brought over here?
Well, we brought as strong a squad as possible. We've got a good mix of youth and experience, guys who've, Joe Marlam and Dan Cole and Jamie George, who've been on multiple tours to New Zealand and Lions tours, and then we've got some young bucks who are going to play against New Zealand for the first time, who are excited to be here.
Well, guys, in the World Cup, I think Steve said, back to DNA, English DNA. You had a pretty good Six Nations. You beat, you know, Ireland at an unbelievable side. But what is that increase in the DNA? You said you want to expand on that. What does that look like for us Kiwis sitting on the couch next week?
Oh, well, we've got to play good English rugby, which is we need a strong set piece and we need a strong kicking game. The World Cup was the absolute start of that, the basis, and we put all our eggs in this basket of being really hard to beat. So those were our foundations and played to that, and it nearly got us far enough in that tournament to play you guys, but not quite. And now it's about expanding that little by little, trying to progress every time we come into camp. We're trying to get a little bit better, a little bit more well-rounded, and we want to use the ball really well.
What have you sort of seen? I would imagine we're seeing Super Rugby, but this is a whole new coaching staff for the All Blacks. I mean, predominantly Crusaders. Have you had to try and analyse the Crusaders sort of game?
Yeah.
Or is it sort of a bit of both with Super Rugby? What does it look like?
No, it has. It's been. I actually used to catch up regularly with Scott Hansen, who's defence coach, but he was the attack coach of Crusaders. So I went through all my notes that we'd spoken about and what they do, and yeah, so I had a good look at the Crusaders. But then I know Hurricanes coach is doing the attack and set piece, so we've had a look at that stuff. So yeah, we've had a fair bit of work to get through to work out what might be coming our way, but we know what we'll do is a good All Blacks team.
I have to ask you about the fact for so long Owen Farrell was an integral part of what English rugby was about. Whether it was at 12 or 10, the debate was where he was going to have his impact. He's now unavailable for selection, and it's Marcus Smith who looks as though he's the guy who's put up his hand first, or you've given the first opportunity. He came on in 2022 against the All Blacks off the bench and turned the game around. Almost got to a point where the most remarkable comeback. It ends up being a draw, and you know the All Blacks found out very quickly what he was capable of. So when you look at him now, is he the guy you're giving the responsibility? What are you looking from him, and how can he change the way you play?
Oh, well, ultimately, the guy that you give the 10 shirt to has always got that responsibility for leading his team around the field, the decision-making on calls. But we're blessed in England at the minute. We've got George Ford had the shirt and unfortunately unavailable. Marcus came back to fitness end of Six Nations, did a really good job coming off the bench against Ireland, playing against France, and he's got first shot at it now. We played really well against Japan. And again, we've got a young lad called Finn Smith who's just won the Premiership with Northampton on the bench. So we're blessed in that area, and Marcus has got some different skills he brings to fly half as well, because yeah, the boy can run.
Can you rein him in? I mean, do you have to rein him in or not?
No, you don't have to rein him in. He wants to be really well-rounded. He doesn't want to just do the flashy stuff. He wants to get his head in the spokes and make his tackles. He wants to be a brilliant tactician. So, as with all good fly halves, he wants to be, well-rounded. He wants to lead a team. So, he's a pleasure to coach.
We know a lot of, it's the end of the season, but most international sides want to come down here and beat New Zealand. It's probably the best opportunity. We haven't played. What do you need to do to beat us?
I don't know about best opportunity, but it's, as I said, we've got some guys touring New Zealand for the first time who are excited to do maybe the toughest thing in rugby, which is come away to New Zealand and try and win a test or a series. So we are excited to be here. We know we're going to play a really good New Zealand team. So we need to get a lot of things right for us to be in that mix of winning that game.
A lot of chat about the game evolving, things speeding up, with timing on kicks at goal, timing on scrums, the fact that all of a sudden the consideration about yellow and red cards, all of the things that are changing. Fundamentally for you, though, does that change the type of athlete you look at, or do you have to rely heavily on that DNA? Because like you just said, you're one play away at a Rugby World Cup from being in a World Cup final, and then anything can possibly happen. Are you just looking to be maybe a little bit more adaptable as a side? The fact that conditions, the nature of the team you're playing, is that something you feel as though you're getting closer to?
I'd say that's a great summary of it. We want to be adaptable because every game's different. And some games are in the driving rain and are forward dominated, and you have to be able to compete and do that. I think what everyone's underestimated in the past about New Zealand is how good their set piece is to allow the athletes and the skill-based players they have to shine. Since Jason Ryan's come in, that set piece has gone through the roof. So that is an absolute staple of rugby, that you need a strong set piece. But anything that speeds the game up and gets the guys more space, then I think everyone's all for.
It's just an exciting time for English rugby. I mean, we're excited. We're resetting in some sort of way because we've got new coaches. But the squad that you brought down, mix of experience, but also some fairly young sort of new guys. I mean, is it a reset and sort of looking to the future as well, but trying to make sure that you're dominant in those areas you've just spoken about?
Yeah, and we know that the only way of getting experience is getting out there and playing, and we've got this, hopefully this team now that can stay together, the core of it, for a long time, and we don't want to be chopping and changing the team the whole time. Otherwise, with these shared experiences that we get in places like New Zealand aren't going to be worth much if we keep changing the team. So we want these guys to grow, hopefully over the next few years, and become really good Test match players, and hopefully we'll try and improve them.
I love the Six Nations. I think it's one of the most amazing tournaments I've been involved in. Is it different? Do you play different in New Zealand in this break compared to how you would play, your Six Nations rugby?
Yeah, I think a little bit. The Six Nations is a different beast. The ball in play tends to go up, and you get all different types of weather conditions through those 8-week periods. As you know, you can go to Italy on a nice day, and then you're playing at Murrayfield in the driving rain. So it requires all sorts of different things, but not dissimilar to this tour, because we're going from under the roof in Dunedin to potentially what might happen in Eden Park 7 days later. So again, it goes back to us wanting to be really adaptable in how we play, the foundation of our game being really strong so that we can be in any contest, and then, they say, try and win it with these young lads out wide to give us a shot at it.
We saw what a series win did for Ireland in terms of coming down to New Zealand, all of a sudden sort of reinforcing who they thought they were. What would a successful tour to New Zealand for this English squad, whether it's, what would it look like? Is it winning a test match? Is it being right there in both test matches? In your eyes as a group, is it winning 2-0? What are you looking for?
We're not looking past anything past the first test. If I'm being honest, I don't think we've looked too much at what it might do for us as a group. What we do know is that we want to learn really fast. So as you said, this is unknown for us in terms of, normally you get all those tests to preview a team and what they're about. We've able to do that with individuals, but as a team less. So we're going to have to focus on ourselves, and we want to learn really fast and grow. But in terms of a target, what we want out of it, it's not something we talk too much about.
As a TAC coach, what would success look like for you besides the result just during the game?
Us getting better. Again, I think we grew during the Six Nations, particularly the Ireland and France week. Again, there were some nice signs in the Japan game. You never quite know if you've not had a group for 2 or 3 months where you might pick up from. We picked up at quite a high level, so we want to knock that on again against obviously one of the toughest tests in rugby. So we want to move the ball really well, as anyone does want to play quick. We've got some guys that play the game at pace. So we want to allow them to do that and show what they can do.
I want to ask you just one last question. South Africa play Ireland on the weekend as well. What do you think about that matchup? This is 1 and 2 in the world.
Yeah.
We're all chasing. I mean, clearly they were great. We had our moments, obviously, at the Rugby World Cup and finished the tournament really strongly, other than the final. What do you think about that matchup?
Yeah, they've got a bit of history as well. There's a bit of feeling in that one.
Yeah.
So, after ours is dust is settled on that, I'm sure we'll have a quick watch of that one. But that should be an almighty counter. I know they've both got, Ireland have got a few injuries and South Africa have got a little bit of change, but you know that they're going to go at each other. It should be good.
Just before we let you go, it's so cool to see your squad embracing the New Zealand culture as well. You've been to a Warriors game yesterday, which is the true heart of rugby league, and you've been with Sir Michael Jones helping at his charity as well. Yeah, and we've been at the Auckland's Children's Hospital. The lads went fishing today. They're properly the golf yesterday, so they've thrown themselves into it, and they're loving it. They're a great group for that in terms of getting in a place and wanting to make a really positive impact and have a great time doing it. Thank you so much for coming on our programme. The guys behaved themselves tonight. That was the nicest
for the first time ever. Yeah, they've been nice to the English guys.
You guys are good tourists, though.
Good.
You guys are good tourists. You know from experience, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I don't think so.
See you in Dunedin.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Looking forward to
Thank
seeing
you
you
very
down
much.
in Dunedin. Well, of course, it's the end of a long Super Rugby campaign for so many people. I had the opportunity to catch up with Finn Christie a little bit earlier on and see how he was feeling heading into All Black camp this week.
Yeah, excited. Really excited. Obviously, short turnaround from the season, like you said, but yeah, you don't get too long to flick the switch with your mind to sort of going into All Blacks camp. But now that we're here and got a few days under our belt and staring down the barrel of a test week, it's nothing but excitement and just looking forward to getting into the week.
Well, this is the first time the band is back together since the Rugby World Cup. How was the reunion?
Yeah, it's always, I guess, refreshing and exciting coming back into camp, and especially after you've been beating each other up for 6 months in Super Rugby. So, it's good to sort of lock horns again and get into camp and sort of, I guess, get the season underway.
Well, of course, you're a bit of an old hand at this. There are some fresh faces in the squad this year. How are they all settling in?
Geez, I don't know about old hand just yet, but it's been awesome getting to know everyone. Obviously, like you said, a few new faces and whatnot. So a lot of this camp's been about sort of connection and I guess getting to know the new faces, not only in the playing group but in the management and coaching group as well. So it's been really enjoyable getting to know everyone.
Of course, there's a new head coach and management as well. Were there any nerves going into camp?
Yeah, I think there's always nerves, no matter if it's your first or I guess for me it's my fourth, and just as nervous. And the first few days you're always checking your calendar, making sure you're not missing any meetings, and always thinking that there's something on that you need to be at. So like I said, once we've got this first few days underway, it's sort of all into the swing of things and looking forward to a test week.
Well, what have your impressions been of the new regime?
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, a touch different to what we've known the last few years, but I guess parts of it the same, parts of it different, which you're always going to get with, I guess, a massively new management crew and coaching crew. So, like I said before, just excited for what's ahead and looking forward to that.
And with that in mind, how's the new skipper, Scott Barrett, going? Yeah,
he's been great. You wouldn't even know he's got, I guess, the weight of the team on his shoulders, just same old Scott. He's been awesome and, looking forward to the way he leads this year too.
As we know, though, Super Rugby is not the test arena. How do you anticipate going up a gear?
Yeah, exactly. I think, like I said, there's not that much time to sort of flick that switch, and being a test week 2 weeks after the Super season finished. So this camp, I think, has been crucial in us sort of building the foundation of this team and, I guess, expectations and the way we want to play, because there's such a short time going into that first test. So come Monday, that's the start of that test week, and we're all sort of locked in and know what we need to do. So I guess the standard's been set, and I think, like I said, there's just a lot of excitement now that waking up tomorrow, we know it's test week. So it's been good.
And I have to ask you, what are you expecting from last year's semi-finalists in the Rugby World Cup, England?
Yeah, they're obviously an awesome team, very physical. They've been playing very well. They play, I guess, multiple brands of footy through they've got a great kicking game, but also massively physical pack and can roll the sleeves up as well. So it's going to be a very tough challenge, and yeah, we got to look at how we want to play, and yeah, it's going to be a good game next week.
And you couldn't go to a better place to start the international season. How much are you looking forward to going to Dunedin?
Mate, always. I think every rugby player loves going to Dunedin, especially in New Zealand, especially coming off finals footy and Super Rugby, where it's pretty dewy every week, and you just know going down to Dunners, you're under that roof. So it's going to be quick, I think, obviously being down there, and yeah, everyone's just excited.
Thanks for joining us. Look forward to seeing you down there.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheers, guys.
The first test is almost upon us. This year, under this new regime, they'll have 14 tests. 9 of those are away. But Finlay Christie seems quite refreshed, Mills. How will it be different with new coaches in that environment as an All Blacks player?
Oh, he sounds refreshed. You know,
Yeah.
I think when you've been under a regime for a wee while, little differences in terms of the cultural aspect, his new personnel in terms of obviously not just the coaching staff, but also the management. So there's a bit in there. It's almost like going to school for the first time, JK. You're learning different things in a different, possibly a different style.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well for me. But anyway, for me, it's about actually peeling it back, Mills. I think, you know, as All Black coaches, they'll all want to have their input, and sometimes, especially for your first test match, you've got to try and peel those back. So it's going to be hard for the coaches to know how much you can really feed into the players. And I think the selection's going to be really interesting as well. You know, like, I personally think they'll go for as much experience as you can, because traditionally our first test match has been our worst. And it's always hard to gel a team. You've got new voices, new coaches, new traditions, as Mills mentioned, but also you've got to keep it relatively simple against what is a very good English side.
After the first test of a lot of seasons, the word rust comes out. Is the fact they're a bit rusty, you know, guys getting combinations, working together. They've a huge number of players they've put in this camp together, trying to understand exactly where they're going. We haven't seen the All Blacks since the Rugby World Cup final. Let's, you know, put in the context. And there's a significant number of players who played in that game. And when you talk to them before the Super Rugby season even started, a lot of them were still hurting. I think a lot of them are still hurting from that fact that they didn't quite get the job done. And this is the start of their next journey, their next step forward, as they try and chase something in 4 years' time, right? In 3 years' time from now. So I'm really excited about that fact, that now they have to make a change, they have to do something slightly different, but they have to get better. But by the same token, what a great first challenge, because I think England are really good. They know how to win. They've been successful. They were the most improved team, I believe, if you look at the Six Nations. Look, they were the only team to beat Ireland. So they're coming in with some real form coming into this tour.
You talked about the extra players that they've brought into the squad. Of course, 32 names we've read out on Monday, but they actually have 41 that have been in camp with the All Blacks in Wellington. They've got the 4 players that are in there as injury cover. That is David Havili, Ruben Love, George Bauer and Sam Derry. Peter Lakai is in there as an apprentice-type player. Will Jordan, Sam Kane and Josh Lord have been in there. Those 3 aren't available until the Rugby Championship, though. You asked Richard about his expectations for England. What about your expectations of the All Blacks season this year as a whole, not just this first test against England, JK?
So 14 test matches. Look, I think that, for example, if we lost next week, obviously we'd all be gutted. I'd be gutted for Razor, the new coaching staff. But then if you turn that round the following week and you have a good performance, you know, and you win, you can say it was back to rust, as Goldie said. You know, you go to South Africa, 2 big, massive tests over there. You know, if you win one, lose one, I'm relatively relaxed because I think there's a whole lot of new things coming in. So, yeah, I think 12 out of 11.
That's not a 12.
I mean, as an All Black, we always say 14 out of 14, right? But reality is maybe 11 or 12.
Other teams, but we play Ireland, we play France, we play England away. And I would say that the great thing about this is, you know, as much as I would prefer a 3-test series, right? And we're only playing England twice. And it's the same in South Africa, they're only playing Ireland twice. It's not ideal, but we get the opportunity to play them away. So I think we play England away as well. So I'm going to count that as a 3-match series. But when you think about what's in front of the All Blacks this year, Mills, this is not an easy campaign to start with. And the fact that you're coming in and you want to make some adjustments and change, and you are playing the best teams in the world, all of them, in the first season. Do I have a number? What would be a successful season? If you win 11 or 12 of these test matches, that's a really good year, if you ask me, because we're up against some world-class teams. We're not the number 1 side in the world, That's South Africa. They've proven that. They've gone out and done it, and they were really good last weekend. Going and winning over there is going to be a real challenge, Mills.
Oh, man. I mean, even just talking about it now, I mean, it's not till, we got to Test week, you think, this is going to be a massive year. Massive in terms of the games they're going to play, even the English. I mean, you talk about 12. If they lost the first 2, would you still be happy with the rest of the season? But there's no doubt about it. I think we've got to keep Blues, though. I think that's a given. Even though the Aussies have got a new coaching, I think we need to keep, by the time we get to the championship, we should be on a flow and not rusted to be able to come away and sort of win that. I think that's a definite goal. But to put a number on it,
yeah,
I'd be happy with 9.
Really?
Yeah, I'd be happy.
You're happy to drop 5 Test matches this year?
I think I'd be happy with 9. I think with the way, you just said it, we're not the number 1 team. Okay.
Yeah, but
I find this so hard to actually take my heart and soul out and put my brain in. Like, seriously, it's so hard for me because I just want to win them all.
Every week you do it, so there's nothing changes. I know it's difficult. Look, I'm excited about the because we've got some new faces, but also I see some guys who would have learnt so much from last year's experience. The fact they would have come through all the adversity, and we talk about the teams getting better through adversity. A lot of these players have been through that, and Razor has talked about the fact that he doesn't believe they necessarily have to lose to get better because he thinks and believes he understands that, but I think he's got a group of players who understand it, who are determined and love the jersey, who felt it last year. We felt it there. I'm looking at this group and I get a sense that they will come together really quickly, and I think that they'll want to put out some strong performances.
You're making me nervous, JK.
Oh no, it's just my heart. It's just I just don't like when we lose. So tell me about debutants.
Well, he said 9. He said 9. That should make you nervous.
Yeah. You're going to England. You're going to Ireland. South Africa. These 4 already, right? The Springboks as well. So I mean.
But the expectations are to win 89-90% to uphold the All Blacks legacy, JK.
Yeah, I also think there's another thing. This team has to build to the World Cup. Okay, so how many debutants are we going to see in the first few weeks? None?
Well, we're going to talk about that. So,
silence.
Hold your horses.
That deathly silence when you say something stupid and then
No, that wasn't.
Maybe they need some extra time to think about it.
We need time to think about that.
Hold your horses. We will get there right after this. Let's talk selections. The All Blacks' first test side will be named on Thursday. We're going to get them to give us their predictions. Plus, we talk Māori All Blacks and game-changing first fives. No, my hockey, my welcome back into the breakdown. Well, it is time for these guys to put their selectors' hats on and cast your mind forward who you think Scott Robertson will pick on Thursday for the 23 to run out against England, who you would like to pick. What are the positions you think are up for grabs? JK, if you think they're going to take the most experienced side, what are the positions that we're unsure about? Blindside flanker for one?
Barrett for Perifeta would be one that I would go. I believe that the first test match is going to be fundamental for this team. They'll want to win it. It's the hardest one to win because we're all rusty. So do you play Bowden or do you play Perifeta at fullback? That's sort of the biggest win for me. TJ Perenara, Finlay is our incumbent. He's been playing well during the competition, but with such a big forward pack against you, do you want the old extra loose forward Mills, a bit of a bigger 9? So that's another position I'm thinking about.
Are you picking anyone, or are you just going to name everyone in the squad?
No. Well,
that's the easy thing to do is we go 1 or 2. I mean, who would you play at halfback?
Finlay.
Yeah, and I'm very much the same. And I don't worry. I think.
Well, who would you play at fullback then? Perifeta or Barrett?
I'd play Barrett. But I think at the halfback situation, I think Christie deserves the opportunity we've seen. He's actually fresh because he only played the last month with the Blues, essentially. He was out for a long period of time, so he's actually got his legs back under him quite nicely, and he's come to the Blues at the right part of the season. We saw his performances, and I think he's tough. I think he is that nugget. He plays way bigger than his size. He's got a big ticker. He mixes it up, and when he needs to, he's good with ball in hand. So, look, I'm really happy with him at halfback.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's coming into some good form. I think it's been a blessing that he's been out with injuries and he's hit the form at the right time. I think his relationship also with Leon McDonald, having been at the Blues and before that the Marcos, and I think he's just finding some confidence. I mean, we heard him earlier before. He's refreshed. He's raring to go. His kicking game has come on, and defensively, against a very big sort of English pack.
So now I'm going to go, right, Mackenzie, Barrett, Ioane, don't know, and Barrett at fullback with Perifet on the bench.
A lot of
But you're
don't
not
knows.
selecting at all.
You know, don't know, eh?
I think
The wings is probably, for me, of all
Harder.
the positions, is the hardest to find out and look what they're looking for. If we're playing England, because they talked about when they named the squad was selected to specifically beat these sides they're playing, right? So, Mills, who are you playing on the wing?
Well, I think a lot of it has to be determined who plays at fullback, right? And I think they might possibly play Damien McKenzie at fullback and put Barrett at 10. I think that could be that's definitely an option. And then you'd go, okay, if you're looking at aerial skills, the one guy that's been very good in the year has been Caleb Clark. And then
Millsy, that was left field. You're gonna,
Why would you put Bowden at 10? He's coming back from Japan. We know that players don't tend to come back in the best international form. Why would you put him there instead of Damien, who's had a
you've got a
whole...
Centurion there, right? I mean, when you're coming back in the stuff, the experience is key. You spoke about the experience and sort of what he sort of brings. In big matches, he's well refreshed from coming back from Japan. I think, and last year I said he should be at fullback, and he didn't end up playing fullback. I think now, with the way he is, he's calmer influence. He plays 10, put McKenzie at the back as a void because of the way that, because Will Jordan's out.
It said like
I can't agree, Mills.
It said like someone who knows something. That's what
you were down in the camp. But there's no way. There's no way. There's no way, Mills. There's absolutely no ways, because I think that you've got to say to Damien, if he's your 10, it's your football team, right? I think Bowden has played at fullback. He hasn't played at 10 for a little while, and he can play fullback at test level coming back from Japan. But I think you've got to go to your first 5. Your team, brother. Here we go. And I think Damien's been playing enough there. I just can't see it happening, mate.
I think this is a really important conversation around how we're going to play, and that's where you're coming from. And I look at Damien McKenzie, there's a lot of things he does from the backfield for the Chiefs, because ultimately he'll kick and retreat and he'll be the guy in the backfield. So how they use him, quite often he's the guy at the back door. I look at a lot of this though, and I'm trying to, in my own head, go, there's a lot of scribes talking about a revolution. The game doesn't change fundamentally, does it, Mills, in terms of the way the game is played? What can Scott Robertson and all these coaches essentially do differently, significantly differently than the All Blacks have done in the last 2 or 3 years? Given we found something by the end of last season, the fact that we got so close and we almost won a Rugby World Cup final with 14 men on the pitch, right? So what is it that they can actually seriously tweak that changes the way that we play?
Well, I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. I mean, our DNA is playing on top of the ground, right? And that's where we're at our best. We went away from that. We wanted bigger forwards to try and combat the bigger athletes that we were sort of facing, the likes of the English. I think the structure in our skill set is still the best. When we look at the skill set of numbers 1 to 8, they can all play like backs. But how do we make sure that we still win the physical battle, but a smart physical battle? And that set piece, our scrum, we only have to look at the Blues, right? I mean, how many 39 penalties that they got throughout the whole season? So we've got that there. Now we need mobility. We need that mobility back that we sort of perhaps lost in the last couple of years around our bigger boys.
I think we're seeing the change through selection. I think we're seeing a different front row especially. So I think we're going for a bigger athlete. So I think they'll want to play a different style. I don't think we can win the next World Cup unless we show some innovation.
So
how long are we doing?
Who are they?
How long?
Hold on, you say.
How long are we doing?
Who's playing ahead of?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Who's
Yeah,
playing ahead of
okay.
them?
Let me finish. How long have everyone been doing pods, right? What's the innovation from the pod play that everyone does? I mean, are we going to change the game through athletes, or are we going to change it through tactics and like the technical side?
Yeah.
So Tamaiti, I think his build is Tossi. That build, I think, is coming.
So someone that just talked about experience. They're not experienced, so
I don't think we'll do it straight away.
They won't feature.
I think we've got 4 years to work this out.
You're going to wait 4 years. That's a long time to wait. It's a long time to wait. I mean, I say
those guys aren't going to play this week.
Okay, yeah. So let's put it. A couple of years ago, we were in South Africa and we rolled Fletcher Newell out against the Springboks, and he came off the bench and he was awesome, right? And to your point, when's the right time? If you're good enough and you're preparing, and Jason Ryan's got them in camp, and that's why when I'm comparing our team, right, I'm going to to compare them to the World Cup champions because they are the ultimate challenge right now for us. They're the team that...
I get that, but are you going to play some newbies?
Yeah,
they are the ultimate challenge.
They are the ultimate challenge, but a different style.
Yeah, they're a different style, but we have to be
style.
adaptable, in my view. We have to be adaptable. And if you watch the Springboks run all over the top of their game the other day, who they? Wales, over Wales. And it's easy to forget Wales because I'm not sure what they're doing right now. But if you watch the way that they played, and they've also got a new coach in their environment. Now, can we play this footage? Can we play this footage? And yes, we got what we expected. It was a 55-metre kick at goal. But there were some things in this game. They do this all day. But I've never seen a happier Springbok coaching box in my life. And there it is, Rassie Erasmus, just to the right, just pause. There was Tony Brown. Here he goes, just there, giggling. It doesn't look right, I know. It doesn't look right in green.
Doesn't look good in green.
But they started to show some signs.
Let me ask you this thing, Goldie.
We're not on top of the pile right now. We're chasing.
I disagree.
We're not chasing.
Let me ask you this. If the All Blacks in the second half of the World Cup had been able to run the ball a wee bit more.
Hold on, we put 60 on Argentina.
Hang on a minute. And we can speed the game up with the new rules. Do you think South Africa are going to be as effective?
Yeah, because they can do some things that other teams can't do. And you watch them, and they've got a thing called a hybrid player we've worked out. That's why they can run a 6-2 bench when you've got a guy like Quagga Smith who he's covering the midfield because he's played sevens. The way that they play, the dominance they've got. Did you see Evan Roos, the number 8, burst through the middle of the park, sprinting down like he was a beast? You know, South Africa, I tell you what, right now, they're the standard. The challenge we're going to have is the fact that they're
I don't think
probably
they're
going
the
to
standard, mate.
You don't think so? You think it's still Ireland?
I think
France?
they know. I think they know how to win World Cups, right? But I don't think they play a type of rugby that's the future of our game.
No, they play a style that
wins,
effective for them.
Exactly.
But I think to your point, we are chasing them. They have been the innovators for the last couple of years. And it used to be us. We used to go in and go, hey, let's come up with these pods. Let's go with a 4-3, whatever they used to look like. We've got to get back to sort of coming up with something a little bit different. This is an opportunity now for Razor's men, the coaching staff. They've had plenty of time to come, okay, what do we need to get better? Do we need to dent the middle of the park? We need to go back to our DNA. How do we play on top of the grass? So that when we go to South Africa, we're not trying to hustle and bust them through their own game because we're not going to win that style.
But not this week, Mills. Do you agree with that or not? I think this week you need to play your most experience, start with your wins, and then start building towards changing the game and bringing in some new stuff. Or you think he's just going to go, boom?
Well, the thing being is if you do what has been done before and you don't have success, then it's hard to make changes. When there is no honeymoon period then, whereas the fact that at the moment, I'm in some ways, am I happy with an element of risk in these first few test matches, Kirsty? I am, actually. Yep. And the fact that maybe it is a Wallace Satiti off the bench, you know, which we weren't maybe expecting. You know, maybe it's Tamaiti Williams, clearly, maybe he gets a start. I don't know, but what I'm saying is I'm actually more comfortable with that than if you're going...
But you're talking selection, not style of play.
Well, but are you saying that we were that far away? How far away were we from being successful when, like I say...
In the World Cup?
Well, from a moment.
In the World Cup?
Yeah, and we blew some teams off the park.
That's why I couldn't believe how you just raved about South Africa for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, but once again, it wasn't quite good enough for us to get across the line. How much did they put on us at Twickenham?
Yeah, that wasn't good.
So but I'm just saying.
But all I'm saying to you is that we started this conversation with saying, how are we going to get to that level? Now, during World Cups, South Africa, I don't know, we probably win most of the time, right? But World Cups, they play a style of football that suits them, that is winning style of football. We need to combat that, but we can't be them. So what I'm saying, is that selection or is that tactics or a combination of the both?
I have no doubts, Mills, we're good enough. I have no doubts whatsoever. We've got the talent, but we've also lost Brodie Retallick, Sam Whitelock, Aaron Smith, Ruchi Mwanga, some really important pieces of our puzzle. Dane Coles, and you think how good he was for the All Blacks last year. So I'm just saying the fact that we're going to have to evolve, get better. If you look across and what's happening, Ireland is still really, really good. France aren't the same without Antoine Dupont, but I'm assuming he'll be back after the Olympics for the end of year tour. So to your point, and when you say 9 wins, when you see the challenges that are in front of us, I'm just trying to be realistic. Like you say, Hart will always say, I'd love us to go out and win every test match. But I think right now, this is a massive season with some teams who know who they are and have played really well in recent times.
I'm just going to throw out one more selection bomb, and since you're throwing out all of these wonderful things, Mills, the All Blacks coaches have basically confirmed Ardie Savea will be at 8. Who is at 6 and 7 on Saturday?
That was up to you guys, isn't it?
You're the selector right now,
Samapene
Mills.
Finau on the blind side
And
Dalton at open side are my choices.
He thinks Ardie Savea could be playing 7.
I'd love to see Ardie at 7. I would love to see Ardie back at 7 because it gives us a bit more options at the back. Jacobson or Satiti. Why pick him if you're not going to play him? Do you know what I mean?
Who are you playing?
Papali'i and Finau.
Okay, you're going the same as JK. You guys agree on something. There you go. First time in 37 minutes that
Where
you've
did that
agreed on
South
something.
African rant come from? I still can't.
He's been
deal with
analysing them for the last couple of weeks now. Because Tony Brown's been there, right? So
That's right.
Got to keep an eye on them. You've got to keep an eye on them.
Big couple of test matches coming up, though, for Tony Brown, Rassie Erasmus and co with South Africa, hosting Ireland in the Republic for the next couple of weeks. Righto, time to talk game-changing first fives. Who better than the king himself, Carlos Spencer?
He was a genius. No, I don't know if he knew what he was doing, but what he did was fantastic. There's not many better.
Now Spencer searching for an opening and he's found it.
Spontaneous, the ultra instinctive player.
He just makes it look so easy.
The instinct was, I want to run, I want to create, I'll kick if I have to. And the kicking part of his game was good, but the running, passing, creative side of his game was unbelievable.
He was a bit of a showman on the field, but boy, what a player. He'd do things that other people wouldn't.
Premeditation didn't matter. He would just be happy to gamble on his skill set, and his skill set was off the Richter scale.
Goodness, he's not going to pass it, is he? He does.
You remember the game at Lancaster Park when he scored in the corner and he could have scored under the post and then kicked the goal from the sideline. That's Carlos.
Carlos Spencer twists the knife.
So he had that cheekiness, a great love of the game. He was an actor and he loved it.
96, Super Rugby comes along, the game changed, shifted. He was the perfect first five to go out there and showcase space and time, and all of a sudden you're fit, you're athletic, you're encouraged to play exciting rugby. Once again, that's what Carlos Spencer, that's what he knew, that's what he wanted to do, and he could go out and deliver it.
The vision that he had, his peripherals were really unique. And, you know, like his ability to see not only who he can use and utilise, but who's coming at him. Yeah, I think he was a genius at that.
Can you keep up? Do you realise what he's going to do? And what's it going to look like? And it's great for you if he's on your side. And if you're playing against him, expect the unexpected.
When we first started into professional rugby, we'd probably look 3 phases ahead. By the time the game started to get more professional, sort of late into the 90s, we're looking, 6 phases ahead. So we're going, for example, we're starting on the left-hand side of the field, we're going bang, punch midfield, then we're going to go wide channel. When we come back, we're going to go back midfield, but then we're going to go back right. So that's what your premeditation is all about. Carlos, within that pattern, if he saw something, he would just take it. He looks up and he sees that all of a sudden their fullback's gone racing to worry about the outside, little audacious chip over the top, or an opportunity to take on a defender that's not supposed to be there. He would just go, you know what, yeah, we're supposed to go there, but that's a defender I can beat. I'm just going to take him on. But yes, he used to piss me off to play against.
He was always happy to live with the consequences, more often than not, because he knew it, he was confident, had worked on it. It wasn't a risk, it was a calculated risk, and he was good enough when he's on fire. You want to watch it, you want to see it, you don't want to play against it, but ultimately it was for the fans. You could see how much joy he got out of it, and it made other players around him better.
He just loved playing in the big environment with the big crowd, and that was his stage.
Well, the international season has already started for a couple of teams. The Māori All Blacks have been in action in Japan against the Japanese 15. And joining us now to talk about it is their head coach, Ross Filippo. Kia ora, Ross. Thank you so much for joining us from Japan, and a big congratulations. I just want to ask you about something pre-match. How special was it from the Japanese boys to have their jersey laid with Connor Garden-Bishop's name on it for your side?
No, that was a really nice touch. We was quite cool that I think the Japanese culture and Māori culture share similarities around honouring the past and acknowledging people who have passed on. I thought it was a really nice touch from the Japanese. The team did a bit of practice to prepare so that we could actually receive the jersey in the right way. So you would have noticed that our formation for the Haka was more set up as 3 flat lines as opposed to in its usual kind of arrowhead formation, just to make sure that we're kind of showing respect to them, that they were acknowledging the passing of Connor. So it was a really nice occasion for the team and the players, making sure that they accepted that in the right way.
Ross, congratulations, first win as the Māori coach. You introduced a few debutants, there's still a couple of are we anticipating a few changes there? Are those guys getting a bit of a shot for this next game?
Well, I think with winning the first game, we can definitely look at what game 2 looks like. We did pick up a couple of dings. It was really unfortunate that Joe Moody had to pull out last minute. He hurt his calf in the warm-up, and it was a bit of a blow, but the boys, by and large throughout the whole week have been really, really kind of agile, and they just pivoted, and Ollie went into starting, and then Bene Kumoroa got his first cap for the Māoris yesterday by way of finding out, running into the changing room. So, the boys have been fantastic, and it was great to see that we were able to debut seven new guys to the team. Their whānau would be sitting at home extremely proud for their contributions yesterday. I thought all of them actually made an impact in the game. Some really good actions that were executed by them, and then afterwards, they were received to the team and welcomed into the team by the rest of the group really, really awesomely. So, yeah, it was an awesome day.
Ross, congratulations. I know it would have been a difficult week for you. I watched the whole game and the team certainly got better, so I think that'll be pleasing. The question I have, does Razor talk to you about how he wants you to play, or you can go away and play the style that we're used to around Māori rugby?
Well, I think, no, Razor's, I've got creative freedom to be able to prepare the team as we see fit with work with our other coaches. But we do talk around selections going into that, and Razor was really good. We had a couple of really, really robust conversations, and he was pretty supportive around a lot of the selections. Gave me enough time to make sure that I could get my squad together, and then obviously from that point he kind of wished me all the best, and I did the same for him, and yeah, we kind of just cracked on with it. So it's good to be able to create that link so that the top down's actually having a hand in what's happening with the other black jerseys. I think that's an important relationship that can be, continue to grow and be fostered and get closer together, closer links. But by and large, good experience coming into this. Challenging, though.
This is the first time I've heard 3 people call you Ross in a row. We agreed beforehand you're Floss. That's what everyone knows you as Floss. But let's talk about this performance, because you had very little preparation time. Now you've got a little bit extra going into Japan 15 once again. Are we expecting them to be the same side, or is Eddie Jones going to switch a lot of guys around and essentially put a few of his national guys on show?
Well, I think, as we all know, Eddie's quite a tough guy to actually pin down in terms of predicting what he's going to do. We're going to prepare for him potentially changing up his squad and bringing in more of his big guns, just so that we can make sure that we deliver a good performance for us in our final game. I think one thing we had to do was, with a fast week and things getting off the ground quickly, was it gave us a chance to actually cut out all the peripheral stuff and keep it really simple for the players. I think you would have seen in the first 20 minutes, obviously we're under the pump a little bit from the Japanese, who are really organised because they've been training for a long time, and it took us a wee while to settle. But once the players actually started to understand the rhythm of their game and the rhythm with each other, we were able to get better as the game went on, and I thought by the end of the game we were actually looking really, really good. So, I mean, realistically, it was our first actual physical contact session, came by way of the game because of the way the week was structured. So a few boys are actually gassed. because they hadn't had any contact for a wee while. But, you know, it took a lot longer for them to get their second win just purely for the fact that some of them hadn't played rugby for a number of weeks. And so they just had to knock the rust off. And I thought they did a good job of kind of, I guess, fight through the teething problems and then come out the other side where they actually looked like they were a team that had trained together for a wee while. So that was really pleasing.
Floss, how's this experience for you as a coach? You're obviously head coach of Waikato, you're the stepping stone, you know, being involved with the Chiefs as well, and now you're a head coach on the international stage. I mean, this is a unique team, and unique in terms of the preparation. There's not much preparation in there, but also the style that they play. Do you change anything in terms of your coaching style to sort of adapt to the Māori style?
No, I mean, for myself, I've always kind of approached my coaching in the fact that I'm going to just be unashamedly myself. And I found that works best because you end up building really authentic relationships with the players. They know what they're going to get when I'm in front of them, and I know what I'm going to get from them because we just have this, I guess, line of transparency that's really straight up and honest, and we have a laugh, but then we also make sure that we do our mahi as well. I haven't changed anything in terms of my style of coaching. I think it was just more around the fact that I understood the history and the responsibility associated with this team and making sure that I can prepare it and do it justice, because we've had some great coaches sit in this chair in the last few years, and you know, all of them have done a great job in terms of growing the mana and the legacy of this team. I just wanted to make sure that I can step into these shoes and elevate it and do it justice.
If I'm sitting at home next week, Ross, and I'm looking for some improvement, what would the two things that I should look at? What will you be working on this week with another quick turnaround for what is another big test match for you?
I definitely will be working on our start, getting our start right. That first 20 minutes will be important. If we can get some rhythm early, I think that will set us up for a really good game. I think another part is just tidying up our exit area. We hadn't actually put too much work into that, so being able to just put a bit more organisation around how we exit so that we don't get stuck in our 22. We conceded a number of penalties within our 40 that kind of kept us camped in our 22 throughout the period of that first 20 minutes, and you know, obviously that was when the Japanese 15 were able to create a lot of momentum. So I think those two things would really kind of make a big impact for the team.
Ross, or Floss, as Jeff says, thank you so much for joining us from Japan. We cannot wait to watch your men go to work again against Japan 15 next week.
No, awesome. Thanks for having me. And just appreciate all the support from back home. The team knows that everyone's supporting them, and really grateful. So we'll try our best this week.
Brilliant. The Māori All Blacks, brilliant start to their two-match schedule in Japan. Their next game coming up, we will be on air 8:30 p.m. this Saturday night, and you can get Te Reo Māori and English commentary for that game as well. And then, of course, the All Blacks will be live from Dunedin at 6 p.m. Gents, predictions?
No wingers yet, so the All Blacks are going to run out. All Blacks are going to run out on the weekend without wingers.
You haven't decided?
I have no idea, eh? No idea.
It's great though, isn't it? I mean, it's actually great, City, and we've got a good team. We've got a good team. It's just who gets the starting spot.
There's so many.
I mean, and even hearing Richard talk about what the English have brought, it's not till you look at it, they've got an exciting side as well.
I think for the back three, it's got to be about the high ball, because we spoke about the English DNA. So I think they'll have to pick the wingers that are best getting back and under the high ball.
Have you got your thermals?
Yes.
You've got your thermals? Kids haven't stolen those?
No, they have. I just had to buy some more.
Catmandu makes a fortune out of you when it comes down to Dunedin. He's always down there searching around. This is a great start to the season campaign. Look, Eden Park will be sold out as well. Like, I think, this is what we've been waiting for, right? From the moment Super Rugby started, all of this talent started coming through. They've made their decisions. Now we get to see on Thursday, who gets the chance to start and represent the All Blacks in 2024. And it's on the back of, a new campaign. So.
And none of you, just confirming, have the All Blacks to drop this first test? Positive starts, people, positive starts.
Oh, I think we'll win the first one. I do.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll see you in
Steve with conviction.
There's been a lot of silence tonight.
Stay tuned for the Razor documentary coming up after this.
That kid who got on a skateboard at Tay Street, checked out the surf, went to Bay Park, those sorts of things. Do you think he ever thought he'd be an All Blacks coach?
I always wanted to be an All Black, but when I became an All Black, that's when I realised I wanted to coach them. You know, I wanted to stay in the game as long as I possibly can. I want to be there for the weekend. I want to feel that high. I want to feel that rush. I want to feel that you cannot be fabricated. You cannot make it. Walking into a stadium with a team that you're connected to, players that you love, you've got expectations, you know, the country will got all these things, you know. That's that part that I love, and that's the part I'm looking forward to. There's a lot of responsibility goes with it, but I'm ready for it.